Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hold on. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jashodanandana Bradajana Ranjana Jashodanandana Bradajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Muspat Paramangsa Paribrajagacharya Siddhareshwara Smadhati Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Bhagavati Jaya Ananta Kodi Vaishnava Ki Jaya Ramacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jaya Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Radha Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jaya Sri Sri Radha Krishna Bhog Gopinath Sam Khund Radha Khund Giri Govardhan Ki Jaya Vrindavan Dham Ki Jaya Navadvip Dham Ki Jaya Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Guru Dwarka Dham Ki Jai, Swami Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, all glories to their Summit. All glories to their Summit. Thank you very much. All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept the humble obeisances. All glories to the Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to our revered speaker for today, His Grace JIVA TATTVA Prabhu, and all glories to assembled Vaishnava devotees. Devotees, we thank you all for being here. Today is Friday. To most people, Friday is the most beloved day of the week because everybody wants to run out to the countryside and stay away from the busy work during the week. But here we are. So as we are ending the week, we are also beginning another chapter. It's very interesting. And fortunately, we have His Grace JIVA TATTVA who will be doing this amazing service with us today. JIVA TATTVA Prabhu, thank you so much.
Thank
There
you.
there is one devotee, he seems not to remember your name, but I guess he remembers your face much more than your name. So when the devotee saw that you are speaking to this, says, oh, I love this devotee, he's very humble. So that's nice. Okay, Hare Krishna, thank you so much for waiting. I'm just happy, so I just had to mention this. So we may put the verse on the screen and then you take it over from here, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Sajay Prabhu. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. And we are very grateful for all of you joining us and to Sajay Prabhu for giving us the opportunity to speak on such a wonderful day. Today is July 4th. Everyone's celebrating freedom. And that's going to be our focus. Are we really free? Hare Krishna. So, just waiting for the verse. Please join us in the recitation of the invocation mantras. We can do it together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiryet Shravanta Swata Krishna Punya Shamana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhasatam Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavti Naishtaki. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Today we are covering 3 verses from 3rd Canto, chapter 10, verse 1 through 3. So please join us in the recitation as we present these 3 verses for everyone's welfare, because one of the Mahajana is speaking these verses, is starting to inquire. Shri Viduru Vacha Antarhite Bhagavati Brahma Loka Pitamaha Prajaha Sasarja Katida Dehi Kirmani Sir Vibhuhu. Word for word. Vidura Uvacha. Shri Vidur said, Antarhite, after the disappearance, Bhagavati, of the personality of Godhead, Brahma, the first created living being, Loka Pitamaha, the grandfather of all planetary inhabitants, Prajaha, generations, Sasarja, created, Katidhaha, how many, Dahikihi, from his body, Manasi, from his mind, Vibhuhu, the great. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Shri Vidur said, O great sage, please let me know how Brahma, the grandfather of the planetary inhabitants, created the bodies of the living entities from his own body and mind after the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yes, we can just do the translation for next 2 verses. The greatly learned one, kindly eradicate all my doubts and let me know of all that I have inquired from you from the beginning to the end. Purport. Vidur asked all relevant questions of Maitreya because he knew well that Maitreya was the right person to reply to all the points of his inquiries. One must be confident about the qualifications of his teacher. One should not approach a layman for replies to specific spiritual inquiries. Such inquiries, when replied to with imaginative answers by the teacher, are a program for wasting time. Verse 3. Sutta Goswami said, O son of Bhrigu, the great sage Maitreya Muni, thus hearing from Vidur, felt very much enlivened. Everything was in his heart, and thus he began to reply to the questions one after another. Purport. The phrase Sutta Uvacha, Sutta Goswami said, appears to indicate a break in the discourse between Maharaj Parikshit and Shukdev Goswami. While Shukdev Goswami was speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, Sutta Goswami was only one member of a large audience. But Sutta Goswami was speaking to the sages of Naimisharanya, headed by the sage Shaunaka, a descendant of Shukdev Goswami. This, however, does not make any substantial difference in the topics under discussion. Hare Krishna. Please join us in recitation of the pranam mantra for Srila Prabhupada so that we get the blessings in the parampara. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tadaham vande Shri Gurum dina taranam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So as we heard, there is conversations within conversations within conversations. So as was evident in the beginning of Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Sutta Goswami was speaking to the sages in Naimisharanya as to what he had heard from Shukdev Goswami, who had previously spoken to Maharaj Parikshit in the assembly of sages, which included Vyasdev himself, Devashi Narad, Vishwamit, Vashishta, Asitila, Devula, and so many other great personalities, great sages, who had come from all over the universe. And Sutta Goswami was recalling that conversation and was speaking to the sages at Naimisharanya. And here, their spokesperson was Shaunaka Rishi. So in the third verse, in the purpose, Srila Prabhupada says that yes, he is directly, there seems to be a break between that conversation between Shukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. And so Sutta Goswami is speaking this aspect. So he is addressing. Now, here in the purport, sometimes messages get lost in translation. Shaunaka Rishi is not the descendant of Shukdev Goswami. He is a descendant of Bhrigu Maharaj. So we have to understand. And it's just, sometimes it happens. We are meaning to say something, but it comes out differently. So we should understand that Shaunaka Rishi is a descendant of Bhrigu Rishi. So Bhrigu Rishi is one of the main Rishi who is carrying out the fire sacrifices and various yagyas for the, in the heavenly planets for the demigods. And one of his son is Shukracharya. We all know that, yes. Hare Krishna. So here, Shaunaka Rishi is a descendant. And so when Sutta is calling out, he is calling out in relationship to Shukracharya and Bhrigu Muni, because Bhrigu is none other than one of the sons of Lord Brahma. So the inquiry that Mahatma Vidur has placed in front of Maitreya Muni is to know how the various living entities came from the body of Lord Brahma. And Sutta Goswami is making that specific point of reminding Shaunaka Rishi that you are descendant of Bhrigu Muni, who is one of the sons of Lord Brahma. So you should be able to relate to this and be very cautious, very attentive and very eager to know this particular topic. Sometimes when we meet our grandparents and they tell us about our parents, how our father was and how our mother was when they were our age. We are very eager to hear, yes, tell us when they were, what did they do when they were in school? What did they do when they were in college? And, how did you discipline them? They still don't seem to be in line. Sometimes children have this attitude of asking their grandparents about their parents, right? So when we ask questions, we ask in a reverential attitude. We ask in a surrender mood. So that is the essence, that we ask in a way that it helps us come to that level. So here, today is July 4th. Everyone in America is celebrating, the day we became free. So everyone is looking for that freedom. But when you look at people, how they are behaving on this day that America became free, you see their behavior very irresponsible, right? Because sometimes freedom is misunderstood as to be able to do anything that we feel like, any kind of, you know, abominable act sometimes even. It's like, I am free, nobody can stop me. But in reality, in devotional life, in spiritual path, we understand that freedom comes through surrender. And that is the focus here. Surrender is reflected by first a faithful inquiry. And that faithful inquiry show that reverential surrender that we have. But it is not just surrender to, the response that we are getting part of the inquiry, but also have an eager seva spirit. And when we have this seva spirit, what kind of engagement it is? It is eternal engagement. So, my dear devotees, that is the focus today. Free, faithful inquiry, reverential surrender, eager seva spirit, and endless engagement. Those are the four aspects that we'll be diving into. Now, in Bhagavad Gita, there's a beautiful verse 4.34, where it is Srila means again, Lord Krishna is revealing to Arjun what should be the approach when somebody is making an inquiry. Now, Arjun had already followed that instruction to the letter, means he has, as a personified disciple, he actually said, I'm confused and please instruct me. I'm a soul surrender unto you. So that is like he's showing that surrender from that particular point. He had presented many kind of arguments in the beginning, but he did not go back to those arguments. He went to all his inquiries were not in a challenging mood. If you pay attention in Bhagavad Gita, his inquiries were actually related to the topic Lord Krishna was speaking to. And he was asking, how can I do this, what you're telling me, Madhusudana? When he calls Lord Krishna as Madhusudana, means the one who destroyed Madhu, demon. So you can destroy all my doubts. So here he is referring to Krishna as Madhusudana because he wants Krishna to destroy all his doubts. So yes, you can present doubts, but in a submissive, reverential way, and be ready to hear the response. Sometimes people are very short in their patience. We see that. It's sometimes important to build some foundation when the speaker is speaking, but they say, no, 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 you misunderstood our question. Let the speaker speak. Let the response be over before you interrupt the speaker. That is also very important. Sometimes people think that, the person did not understand our question. And charity begins at home. When somebody questions, it's very important that the speaker, the one who is responding to, is also reflecting within before reflecting outwardly. And this Srila Prabhupada used to give this example of a sage. He was once approached by a mother, and the mother brought her, she was with her child, boy, and she said, please tell him to stop eating sugar. So the sage said, bring him back tomorrow. So she said, okay. Next day, when she brings the boy, the sage said, stop eating sugar. So the boy understood. He said, yes, I promise not to eat sugar. And the mother said, you could have said that yesterday. Why did you wait for another day? He said, because I was still eating sugar. So first I have to stop eating sugar before I can instruct another person to stop eating sugar. And this sage was none other than Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, as reverentially, referred to in India, the father of Republic of India. So we understand that, yes, the speaker has to be qualified, but at the same time, when we receive the instruction, when we make the inquiry, we should be able to take those instructions. Because one question with sincerity can unlock a lifetime of realization. Tadvidhi paripatena pariprashnena sevaya updeshyanti tajjnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is revealing that one must approach a bona fide spiritual master. And pariprashnena sevaya, and one should humbly inquire and also be in the mood of seva. So both have to be there, right? So there should be a vinaya bhav, reverential surrender should be there. then Shraddha Yukta Prashna should be there. So again, the inquiry should be with faith and with surrender and in a submissive mood, not in a challenging, arrogant, or argumentative mode. That's not the way, questions should be asked. And when we are asking that question, the response we should accept to lead to actions, right? So this is where the focus of the inquiries should lead us to Nitya Sadhana Bhakti, that endless engagement. That should be the focus. How can we use this perspective? Updekshanti taj jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna that then the bona fide spiritual master can reveal the truth to you because they have seen it, they have realized it. That is a very important aspect. And the short story of Mahatma Gandhi was, he decided to first give up sugar before he's asking that small boy to give up sugar. That is a true sadhu's perspective. There are so many times we see people who are asking others to do it, but when it comes to them to act on those very lines, they're like, no, no, no. Just you follow what I'm saying. I am above the law. That's also sometimes a big mismatch, right? So we should understand that when someone is following parampara, they should understand it's a great responsibility on our shoulder to carry out the activities as they are. Now, when we carry out different activities, there can be different moods. There could be a mood of ignorance that I'm just doing it. I don't know why I'm doing it, but if somebody asks me to do it, and I should just do it without understanding the essence. That is niyama agraha. That's attachment to the ritual. So the spirit is missing, and that actually causes the devotional service to diminish in due course of time. So we should be very careful, not be in mode of ignorance. And sometimes people are doing, carrying out activities with like, I am doing it. It's like my name, fame, and glory should be there. That's in the mode of passion. Very dangerous mode. So there, one in due course of time becomes attached to that mood of I am the speaker. So when there is another speaker, such person doesn't show because the person always wants to be the speaker. And if this person is not the speaker, they don't think that they should be present. And that's mode of passion, which also slowly, kamesha, krodesha, rajaguna samudbhava, mahashano mahapatma, vidya enamiha varena. So this lust causes anger to arise and further makes one fall to the mode of ignorance, and it is a dire enemy. We should be very careful of our enemies. So here we are seeing how Vidur, Mahatma Vidur, he is making an inquiry to Maitreya Muni. Now I'm not saying Vidwan Vidur, I'm saying Mahatma Vidur because now he has received so much information from Maitreya Muni, and realizing that Lord appeared to Lord Narayan appeared to Lord Brahma and gave him the instruction to carry out the creation of this universe. And he is making an inquiry now. Sometimes people say, how can we understand Mahatma Vidur's inquiry? First of all, we should understand he is one of the 12 Mahajanas. Swayambhu Nardo Shambhu Kumaro Kapilo Manu Prahlado Janako Bhishmo Bali Vaya Sakir Vayam. So in the 6th chapter, 6th canto, 3rd chapter, Yamraj is speaking that there are 12 Mahajanas. And Vayam, he's saying, and I am also one of them. So he, being cursed by Manduka Muni, also referred to as Mandavya Muni, he had to take birth as son of a maidservant. So that's why as a Shudra. And so now he has approached, but also understand what's his lineage is. We are sometimes referring to this. Vidur is a Shudra, he's born as a Shudra, but who's his father? None other than Krishna Dvapandya Vyasdev. That's his biological father. So we have to understand from the proper perspective. First he is Mahajana, he's Yamraj, born as a Shudra, but also as a son of Vyasdev. And then he is approaching Maitreya Muni for inquiries based on the insight he got from Uddhava in Vrindavan earlier. And he is making these inquiries in a submissive mood. So we have to understand this submissive mood is very important. It is like the most important. Faithful inquiry is a beginning of spiritual life. Unless we have those doubts that we, in our mind, and we clear those doubts, these doubts are like hurdles in our path. They are like roadblocks. But when you make an inquiry, the same doubts, with the realization of the response and acting on those response becomes stepping stones. So what appears to be roadblocks becomes stepping stones. And when you step over those stones, you advance further. You can be on your journey better. Otherwise, we can just be against the wall, hitting ourselves. In this regard, I'm reminded of a past time where Srila Prabhupada was addressing the university students and professors. And one of the students near the bank of the room, he got up and he said, "What do you have on your head? What are those markings? Why do you have those?" Srila Prabhupada didn't respond. But then he asked again, "Why do you have those markings on your head?" So Srila Prabhupada said, why do you wear a tie? He looked at himself. He couldn't give an answer. He just sat down. So afterwards, when Srila Prabhupada was leaving, at that time, he came forward and Srila Prabhupada said, when you ask a question, you should ask relevant questions with submissiveness, not with a challenging mode. So this is also very important when we are asking questions. What is the purpose of asking questions? Why are we asking a question? Is it related to a doubt, or is it related to us testing how good the speaker is? Sometimes people are saying, "Oh, I'm very knowledgeable. Let me test the speaker. Let me, inquire. I've already read all these books." But understand, this is none other than one of the Mahajanas, and he's approaching Maitreya Muni to ask a question. So this is the humility aspect. Disciple means one who is ready to be disciplined. An inquirer is one who is a true inquirer. A bona fide inquirer is one who is inquiring to remove their doubts, to remove the hurdles, the roadblocks that they face in their path, so that they can step on it by carrying out the response in action to be able to advance further. So those are some of the important aspects that we should understand. And in this inquiry, as we can see, Vidur, he is bowing his head right before Maitreya Muni. When he's asking questions, it's not for debate, but for transformation. It is not with arrogance or, challenging mood or cold logic or a speculative way, but with faith, humility, and eagerness to serve and understand. So when we are asking an inquiry, when making an inquiry, asking a question, it is also in the mood of serving, because that we are enabling the speaker to serve by imparting that knowledge, that message. And that's why it is said that Lord's mercy flows through his devotees. And sometimes this mercy comes in a form of an answer, which can be very transformative for us. But we have to be like an open ball, right? Ready to accept it. Instead of an upside down ball, everything just falls around it. That should not be the mood. We should be in a really reverential mood when we are asking a question. So when Vidur is asking this question, what's happening to Maitreya Muni? He is becoming ecstatic and he is freely pouring nectar in response from his heart, right? So spiritual life doesn't begin with answers, it begins with a question. A question when asked in the right mood. So faithful inquiry is very important. And that is what shows the mood of a genuine disciple. And what does disciple mean? I already said, a person who is ready to be disciplined. So the bona fide spiritual master knows everything about the creation of the Lord. And if he does not know, he does not accept the post of spiritual master. That's also something very strong as a message that comes up. But it's very interesting that when we don't know, we refer to Bhagavatam, who is literally incarnation of Lord Krishna. So that's where we seek answers through Bhagavatam in Bhagavad Gita. That enables us to get to that high level. Because what is the nature of this world? We all have received the material bodies, right? And in Kali age, these material bodies are not so well equipped as it used to be in the previous age. Prayana alpayusha sabhya kalavasmin yugejana manda sumanda matyo mand bhaghe upraduta. So these are the effects of Kali age. Prayana alpayu. So these bodies, they are short lived. They don't have the same age as in the previous age. Means in Dwapar Yuga, people could live to 1,000 years. In Treta Yuga, they could live for 10,000 years. And in Satyuga, they could have a life of 100,000 years. But in current times, in Kali Yuga, our lives are about 100 years, but it's actually much smaller. And as Kali Yuga progresses further, it becomes smaller and smaller and reduces to 20, 22 years only. So you can imagine. Those who are twice of 20 years means they can think about it. How could people, what kind of life would they have if they could only live for 20, 22 years? So this is the effect of Kali age. Alpayu, short-lived. And Kalavasmin Yugejana, that they're quarrelsome. They are, very much ready to fight with each other. With small strike, they are eager to fight with each other. Manda, they are lazy. Sumanda Mateo, they are less intelligent. Manda Bhagya, they are unlucky. And Upraduta, and they're constantly disturbed. So these are the characteristics in this Kali age. Yet at the same time, when we take shelter of Lord Krishna, when we take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, when we take association of devotees, then we transcend all these characteristics because we come to that transcendental platform where these lower characteristics don't attack us. Yet at the same time, it doesn't mean that we become perfect, right? It's not a switch. What happens is that we transform, and when we have inquiries, we open Bhagavatam. We ask submissively to those who have studied Bhagavatam. So there is book Bhagavata and there is person Bhagavata. Both are very important. So the process of receiving knowledge from the spiritual master is not just questioning for the sake of argument, but for the sake of understanding. And same thing is true for questioning a person who is on the Vyasasana, or a person who is the speaker. And so one must approach Guru, we talked about this, in a submissive attitude and not like a cheater. Srila Prabhupada sometimes use the word that one should not act like a cheater. Oh, this is the fashion. Everyone is taking initiation. Let me also take initiation. No, it's a serious business. It is a big commitment, and any shortcoming will strike us bad. In this regard, I'm reminded of a time where Duryodhana and Yudhishthira, they were asked same question. There was once an incident that somebody had stolen, and there were 4 parties involved in planning that stealing of, in this theft, and all of them were caught. There was a Brahmana who had previously identified that such and such thing can be stolen. One person was from Kshatriya clan saying that, yes, we could use force and steal it or plan accordingly. Then there was a Vaishya who was a mercantile man, and he was like, yeah, I can see, how we can dispose of this, whatever is stolen, easily, so that we can distribute what we get. And the Shudra was the thief. And when it was asked from Duryodhana, he said, all of them should be put in jail for such and such time. When the same question was asked of Yudhishthira Maharaj said, Shudra should be put in jail for 1 year because he is from a Shudra class. He doesn't understand. He's just doing as a service to all these other 3 people who are Dush, right? They are twice born, all these 3 other classes. But Vaishya should know better. He has a responsibility to carry out trade in the right manner, not illegally. So he should be given 2 years of imprisonment. Then comes Kshatriya. He should be given 4 years of imprisonment because he has to carry out his acts based on, the Kshatriya principles. He is responsible for protecting, and rather he is in the mood of harming. And in case of Brahmana, he is supposed to be the spiritual master of the human society. He should be, imprisoned for 8 years, and a strong, hardship-based imprisonment. When people hear this response, they start questioning same act but different punishments based on the level of responsibility one carries. So when we have taken a vow to carry out minimum 16 rounds every day, following the 4 regulative principles, we have to be true to our vow. And not just that, that we have to carry out the mission of Srila Prabhupada in the mood of servant of the servant of the servant, dasano dasano das. So when we look from that perspective, our life becomes sublime. In reality, yes, there are great benefits, but any shortcoming has a serious response, a serious reaction to it. So we should be understanding things from that perspective. And when we ask questions with sincerity and serve with devotion in a seva bhav, right, in a reverential mode, everything becomes revealed to us by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So that is also a very important blessing. Sometimes the people, they are reading books after books, but they're not getting much knowledge because they're not getting the mercy of Guru and Gauranga. We have to understand that the mercy is the key aspect for us to make advancement. Just by reading books doesn't just help, because the message may not be clear, it may still be hidden. That's why Lord Krishna says in the 9th chapter, Raj Vidya Rajgoyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyakshavagmam Dharmam Susukham Kartum Avyayam. He's saying that this knowledge that I'm revealing to you of Bhakti Yoga is Raj Vidya. It is the king of all knowledge. But at the same time, Raj Guhyam, it is the greatest secret. Pavitam, it is purifying, and it is the best, Uttama. Pratyakshvavagmam dharmyam susukham kartum avyayam. So when we carry out these instructions, then we can see a transformation happening in our lives. We can experience it. So it's not something theoretical. It is not something for amusement. It is for practicing and overcoming our doubts by carrying out these and overcoming the bondage that we are in. So true freedom is to overcome what is binding us in this material world. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudashanam. So, again, birth, death, old age, and disease, these are the 4 things that are constantly going on in circles, and these are miseries. These are the kinds of miseries that we are going on. Then somebody could say, oh, I should look for liberation. Wow, there are 5 kinds of liberation. There is Salokya Shastri Samepya Sarupam Ikatom Apyuta Diyamanam Nagrananti Vinamat Sevanam Janaha. So again, we hear about the 5 kinds of liberation. This is none other than Lord Kapila revealing to Devahuti, his mother, that a pure devotee does not accept any kind of liberation. What kind of liberation? Salokya, being at the same place as the Supreme Lord. Shashti, having the same opulence as the Supreme Lord. Samipya, being close to the Supreme Lord. Sarupya, having the same form, the form of Narayan. Or Ekatva, merging into Brahman, which is Sayujya in this case. And why would they not take it? If it is devoid of the devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vinamata sevanam janaha. So the pure devotees will not accept any of these liberations. However, the same liberations, when is given with the mood of service, that the devotee can engage in service, then they accept whatever it is. Which reminds me, this is something we were discussing yesterday as well, that a devotee, when he goes to, Vaikuntha, and he's asked, oh, what kind of service would you like? So a humble devotee has this mood of asking, what service can I do? What service can I do? Not instead of taking, but in his case of offering. And if somebody says, oh, you're going to be a tulsi leaf in the garland of Lord Krishna, and he will be wearing that, the devotee will say, yes, I accept it. But then when someone is giving such a service, they know what the capability of the devotee is. And that's why Lord himself reciprocates through that response. Now, sometimes people say, oh, becoming a leaf in the garland of, Tulsi Mala, garland of Tulsi leaves that Lord Krishna is wearing, may not be so interesting. It's in Shantabha. First of all, it is one of the primary rasas, my dear devotees. When we go back to Vaikuntha, Acharyas reveal that actually we have different size balls. Our ball always gets full, but we can only take so much in our ball. So Lord Krishna's mercy is unlimited, but our capability to accept is limited. What we can accept is just this much, while He is unlimited. He can give as much as He feels like. And based on the devotee's capability, service gets assigned. Now, sometimes people say, let me ask you, how many of you, if offered to become a tulsi leaf on the garland of Lord Krishna, would say yes? Do I see any hands? To become a tulsi leaf. Yes. Okay. Hare Krishna. I see a few responses there. Now let me also ask you, even though it appears like Shant Bhava, there is a great mood of surrender that is reflected in this service. What is going to happen to that devotee who is accepted to become a leaf in the Tulsi Mala, in the garland of Tulsi leaves? There will be thousands of Tulsi leaves. So first of all, the devotee has accepted to become as humble to be a member of thousands of the Tulsi leaves. Second, the devotee has accepted another devotee who is a needle to penetrate through its heart, the leaf's heart, so that it can be a part of the garland. And even though this soul is taking as a leaf so much pain that its heart is pierced, it's not looking at its suffering. It's not looking that the thread may be extending its hole further and causing more pain to that leaf, or more extension or splitting to that leaf. But the devotee is looking that I would provide pleasure to Lord Krishna. So that is the mood of surrender, even when somebody is in a Shanta Bhav, accepting a service to be a leaf. If somebody becomes more fortunate and becomes accepted to be a flower in Lord Krishna's garland. Now this is Samipya, right? So Samipya is being close to the Lord. That's one of the liberations. Sometimes people think, oh, Samipya means I will be providing service to the Lord. I'll be the gatekeeper. I will be providing, serving them bhoga and so forth. But this is also Samipya. So we should be careful what we ask for. We might get it. And here, if somebody says, I'm ready to be a flower, how many of you are ready to be a flower in Lord Krishna's garland that he's going to wear? And this garland will be prepared by Radharani. Any hands here? So if you want to be a garland, then you also have to understand now you actually have even a bigger ball of bliss. But to get that, remember the needle, which is another devotee. Everything in spiritual world is living. Will be piercing through your body, through the flower, through and through, so that it can be part of the garland. And you will be sometimes pulled away. Yet at the same time, you will also have the free will. Just like in Damodar Leela, when Yashoda Mai, she was running after Krishna, some flowers were falling off. They were saying, we will catch Krishna before Yashoda Mai catches. So they were falling in front to catch Krishna before she could catch him. Some were saying, oh, this is a great offense. What Yashoda Mai is doing, she is trying to catch the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We don't want to be part of this offense. So they were jumping sideways, right? Backwards even. And someone saying, you know what? Our weight is making Yashoda Mai very heavy. Mother Yashoda is feeling very fatigued because of the weight she is carrying, and we have that weight. So let's fall off so that she can run faster and catch Krishna. So yes, even in the spiritual world, the flowers have different moods and they have that free will. And that why makes it even more interesting. So when we're looking even from the five types of liberations, we should look at it from the right perspective, that why are we looking for this? Because without devotional service, it is shram eva hi kevalam. So even a devotee, when sees that there is no service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, does not accept it. Now, somebody can say to the speaker like, yes, can I ask any question? Yes, you may. But only if you are ready for an answer that might change your life. So again, Those questions should be according to your doubts, and then the response should be acceptable. Right? Don't ask to debate, or rather, better is to ask to awaken yourself. So once a disciple, he walked up to his spiritual master and said, I Googled this already. The question, that response that he gave, I already Googled it. Well, the spiritual master can say, then ask your search bar for liberation. Sometimes, Google is a good friend, but may not impart liberation that a bona fide spiritual master can. So the faithful inquiry means we believe that the Guru has something deeper than what the internet can provide. Sometimes it happens, a person is asking one after another question, and one of the member of the audience asked 108 questions. But after going through so many sessions, didn't implement even one response. So in that case, the spiritual master finally said, now you ask yourself a question, are you ready to apply anything? You asked so many questions, you got so many responses. So the best questions are those that lead to action, not amusement. This is also very important. Current times, sometimes we see devotees are like talking about other religions, showing, yes, ours is so great. Yes, it is great, no doubt. But we don't have to become great by showing that others are not so great. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, when he went to church, he actually walked out by saying, I am so amazed and so jubilant seeing how my Lord is being worshipped so nicely. He was appreciative. Now that should be the mood when we have interfaith dialogue. We should have that mood when talking to others, because if we have a mood of criticism, what are we doing? Shastras reveal this very clearly. We are actually taking their reactions of their bad karmas, which is a hurdle. We are creating a hurdle in our spiritual path. When we are appreciative, then we are getting the qualities, the good qualities of their, own devotional life. So again, everyone is a devotee. Some know it, some don't. My spiritual master, His Holiness Gopalakrishna Goswami Maharaj, Gurudev, he would say that we must ask questions not to challenge the authority of scriptures, but to understand how to apply them in our life. So that is the essence. These scriptures are filled with answers that can deliver us from this material existence. And we can be truly free, not just free that we can do anything that we feel like, but truly free so that we can fully surrender ourselves. So sometimes that spiritual bondage is the true freedom. And that may look very strange to others. And when these questions, they arise, we have to take them to someone who's connected in the parampara. Otherwise, the answers, the responses may just deepen our illusion in this material world. And we may be further entrapped in the cycle of birth and death. So the real question is, that which pleases the Guru and those, born from service, not from speculation. Those questions, those doubts to help us overcome the doubts that we have. So we should ask ourselves, what's the deepest spiritual question in your heart today? What are the doubts that we are facing today? Are you ready to surrender to the answer, even if it challenges your ego? Sometimes we write journals and we make these comments that, hey, what question, if I sincerely asked it, could revolutionize my spiritual life today? This is the present moment. And there are various practical tips we can take in our life. We read scriptures daily with question in mind. We have a question, open the book, approach the text with reverence, write down spiritual questions and bring them to a trusted mentor. And we have to cultivate a mood of not knowing, but staying eager to learn and serve. If you think that we know already, then the glass is already full. Anything that's getting poured is just spilling out. Or we may just be empty, but we are upside down. So anything that's being poured is spilling out again because we are not ready to accept anything. In both cases, we are at loss. So we have to understand that reverential surrender is very important. And that we have to be in that Vinay bhav, vidya vinay sampanne, brahmane gavi hastini, shuni chaiva shopakecha pandita samadarshina. So when one is, Vinay means in a reverential mood, right? One is in the proper mood as a Pandit, knows that Lord resides in every living entity as Paramatma, as Super Soul. So even Mahatma Vidur in the second verse is saying, please kindly eradicate all my doubts and let me know all that I have inquired from you from the beginning to the end. So he is ready to sit till the response finishes. So this is a way of inquiring. This shows that he is eager to know. Instead of saying, oh, I am one of the Mahajanas, I already know everything. I've already read all the scriptures. No, he's not approaching that way. He's approaching in a reverential mood. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport has also identified that a disciple should ask questions but also be ready to receive the answers in total faith and surrender. So if one thinks that the Guru is an ordinary man, then everything is spoiled. The spiritual master must be accepted as a direct representative of Lord Krishna. So disciple must be ready to hear the message submissively and act accordingly. So disciple means one is ready to be disciplined, but also has further extension that must obey the order of the spiritual master. Otherwise it is namaprad, guru avagya. Without obedience, there is no surrender. So we have to seek freedom through surrender, not freedom from surrender. We have to think of things in proper perspective. Surrender means, oh my dear Lord, Lord Shri Krishna, I fully surrender to you. You can kill me, you can protect me, whatever you like, you can do. And that's the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from the last verse of Shri Shastaka. That you may trample over me, you may not show me, yourself to me, but you are my Lord, unconditionally. That is a true way of surrendering. Sometimes we talk about GPS, how GPS gives a direction. And once a disciple, he set out on a yatra, driving it, and probably declared, yes, I have downloaded the latest version of GPS. What GPS? Guru Positioning System. Later, the disciple ignored the GPS, the Guru Positioning System, right? And the warning that it gave, took a shortcut and ended up at a cement factory instead of the temple. So he returned and complained, Guruji, your GPS led me astray. Well, the Guru would just chuckle and say, it wasn't the GPS, it was your refusal to surrender that took you off course. So when we do not follow the directions, then we cannot blame the system, right? Reverential surrender isn't just honoring the Guru. It is following Guru's instructions even when they contradict our mind's logic, our understanding. So again, we have to surrender to those. This also reminds me of a scenario where we talked about half-surrendered umbrella, right? So when during the monsoon, a disciple goes out, but his umbrella is only half open. And when he returns, it's completely drenched. The Guru asks, what happened? Well, the disciple just said, I only needed half the shelter. I didn't think full surrender was required. The Guru would just laugh and he says, then you have only half protected your soul. So partial surrender leaves the heart exposed. Reverence must be full, not fractional. So we have to understand when we want to take full advantage, when we want to be on the God speed back home, back to Godhead, or God speed in our surrender, to be truly free, then it has to be full surrender. So in Boston, 1969, so one disciple, he asked Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, what if I don't feel like following the rules today? So Prabhupada's response, with a twinkle in his eye, then you may feel like a cat tomorrow. Without surrender, my dear devotees, we risk sliding back into animal consciousness, that mode of ignorance. So reverence protects our spiritual dignity. We have to look at life from the proper perspective. His Holiness Ranath Maharaj, he says that when we bow before the spiritual master, we are bowing to Krishna's mercy, coming to us in a visible form. Now imagine that. I already talked about Lord Krishna's mercy flows through his devotees. Yes, it is coming through the Guru. Those instructions are the Guru. When we follow them, we are actually carrying out Vani Seva. That is also a service. And His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami, he actually also talks about that true surrender is revolutionary. It changes our relationship with time, people, pain, and our own ego. So again, we have to understand that we are part of a revolution, not revolting against the Guru, but rather revolutionizing and transforming our life itself. So there are various introspective prompts sometimes we take on, right? Do I trust my spiritual guide fully, even when my logic disagrees? Or am I just carrying out my logic and, there's a mood of, yes, I'll hear everything, but do what I feel like. So when giving a spiritual instruction, we have to ask ourselves, do we follow with reverence or delay with excuses? What is our mood? So in what areas of my spiritual life have I only partially surrendered is a very important question that we should ask. We can carry out various activities. So again, now comes eager seva spirit, right? We should be eagerly, enthusiastically serving. Because our hearts in reverential surrender, the next natural blossom of bhakti is in the burning desire to serve enthusiastically. That's what we are going to discuss. So as we are serving enthusiastically, that is what we are saying Vidur is also doing. And Sutta Goswami is referring to Shaunaka Rishi, O son of Bhrigu, a descendant of Bhrigu, basically. Why is he saying? Because that will make Shaunaka Rishi very enthusiastic to hear. So sometimes the speaker may try to ask questions or encourage for people to become enthusiastic. And that is what is the topic. That's what we should be looking at. The disciple should be very eager to hear. And that eagerness is also a seva, it's also a service. And that service must be offered with love, right? Because the eagerness is the essence of bhakti. Without the essence, bhakti becomes just a ritual. So we have to understand what is the spirit in the spiritual activity. Otherwise, it just becomes, without the spirit, it becomes ritual activity, ritualistic in nature. So when we serve with enthusiasm, we will advance. It's not a question of a big question or a small question, but of eagerness to serve by inquiring and clearing our doubts. So we are the ones who are getting benefit when we are making inquiries. And it is not rendered by qualification, but by the intensity of desire to please the Lord and his devotees. So again, we want to advance not for our sake, but for the pleasure of the Lordship and for the pleasure of the devotees. So it is a mood of giving, a mood of offering, not in a mood of taking, right? So again, even that advancement has to be in the right mood, the purpose behind that inquiry. So in the early days of ISKCON, means again, in the movement, there were some examples where a devotee was obsessed with buying perfect marble slabs for the altar. And so Srila Prabhupada, he observed this delay and said, just bring any marble. If we wait for the perfect marble, we'll still be waiting when Yamaraj comes. So sometimes that urgency in seva is also very important. Krishna looks for the mood, not the material. And when we are carrying out activities, we are carrying out with that eager seva, that utsaha seva, that enthusiasm is an important aspect. And as we approach our life, right, we are looking at the various essence of things that are happening and how we are carrying it out. We also sometimes can reflect back and say, how much is our engagement? Is it endless engagement? Nitya sadhana bhakti. Because when we hear Acharya songs, especially this one, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he sings this. Jiva jago, गोरा चंद्र बोले कोठा निद्र जाओ maya पिशाची रकोले. Now there is a literal translation, and there is a contextual translation of this song, these two lines. So he is saying, wake up, living entity, wake up, living entity. How long will you sleep in the gold? What do you say?
The lap.
Lap of Maya. Yes. Who is a Pishachini, who is a witch. That's the literal incarnation. Now, the contextual incarnation is, he is saying, wake up from your ignorance, this sleep, the slumber that you are in. Because how long will you sleep in this ignorance and being ignorant of your relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Now, here, this ignorance is coming because of the unwanted desires, the anarthas in the heart. In reality, Maya Devi, which is represented by Goddess Durga, she is, first of all, the consort of Lord Shiva. Vaishnava Nam Yatha Shambhu is the topmost Vaishnava. Goddess Durga is known as Vaishno Devi. So she is the she devotee of the Lord. And whose association she is having? She is having association of Lord Shiva, constant association. She is carrying out this thankless activity. She has provided us this material body. ईश्वर सर्वभूतानां हृदयदैश्यजन तिष्ठति ब्राह्मण सर्वभूतानि यंत्रारूढ़ानि मायया. So Lord is residing in everyone's heart, and we living entities are in this machine provided to us by the material energy, by Goddess Durga, who's Vaishnavi. And we are wandering in this universe. Is it her mistake that we are wandering in this universe? No, it is our mistake. She's carrying out this thankless activity that even though we are not devotee of the Lord, sometimes people are, rebuking the spiritual path, and they are on their material path, and they're constantly suffering. Yet at the same time, they're blaming the Lord, they're blaming everyone around them for all the sufferings that is coming because of their past karmas. It is, we have to understand that she is still carrying out her duty perfectly to make sure only a devotee who has purified the heart and is ready to render loving service eternally is able to get out of this cycle of birth and death. So, my dear devotees, this is where I would like to end today by helping you understand and share with you that actually true freedom is in full surrender and be ready to carry out endless service no matter what that service could be. Because even without service, devotees do not accept any kind of liberation. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this wonderful Krishna Katha. Of course, as always, so much to learn from. And like you were saying, I've always been praying that I should not just be a listener, because by Guru Krishna's grace, I have this opportunity hearing from different devotees at least 5 days in a week. Even if I do not read at all on my own, I still have this opportunity of hearing from devotees. But hearing and not doing them, what does it really mean? And so my prayer is to try to do as I'm hearing. So thank you for reminding us about that. Dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, reflections, realizations you may want to ask or share, please indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your question or share your reflections. Hare Krishna. See, Prabhuji, I believe you must know by this time that I always have questions.
Sure.
So you were talking about whether someone would like to be a tulsi leaf in the spiritual world, or someone would like to be a flower. And it reminded me of a question I once asked my Guruji, because some time ago, I believe Mother Tulsi was so merciful upon me, not so much these days. And I'm saying this because some time ago, almost every single time Prashadam is served, I will get Tulsi leaf in my Prashadam. Not so much this time. And so I was wondering, what do I do with this Tulsi leaf in this Prashadam? Do I chew? Do I swallow? Because if I chew it, in my mind, I was causing pain to Mother Tulsi. You know, we have a prayer we pray before we pluck the leaf. And after we're done plucking the leaf, we also offer prayer to Mother Tulsi if we've caused any injury. So in that sense, I was thinking, if I'm chewing, I'm causing more pain. So I asked my guru, of course, my guru said, it's prashadam. If you want to chew, chew. If you want to swallow, swallow. But
Yes.
thinking about how these amazing devotees of the Lord live in the spiritual world. If I know that threading these flowers is causing pain, there is some pain there. That is why when we pluck the tulsi leaf, we recite prayers. But they have to do it. So I'm trying to imagine the mentality of those in the spiritual world, how pleasantly they cause pain to others to serve the Lord. Whereas if we do that in this material world, we will be very, very sinful. So Prabhu, if you may help. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So there is a perverted reflection of this aspect we see in the material world. I'll give you an example from man as well as from women perspective. Men have the responsibility to carry out, go to work for 8 hours. To go to work, they will have to drive through traffic and there can be accidents on the road, right? We see every day, some accidents happening. While coming back also, there could be accidents. So that's a very dangerous situation, right? They have to take on this danger to go to work, do extraneous work activities for 8-9 hours, and then again drive back home, just for the sake so that they can bring bread and butter to the family. Even that is painful. Women, they bear a child for 9 months, but they are looking at when the baby will be in their lap, right? So they forget all that pain the moment the baby comes in the lap. All that suffering is gone. So in reality, Dukhalayam Shashwatam is the nature of this material world. But Sukhalayam Shashwatam is the nature of the spiritual world. The flower is in bliss that I will be part of the garland. So he says, yes, please go ahead. Go through me so that I become part of the garland. The tulsi leaf is pierced by the needle and the thread is running through it because she's in bliss. So when you are in bliss, in anticipation, you are not going to feel the pain. Your Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Tirth Maharaj, he gave you the perfect response. Let me ask you this. Sadhya Prabhu, you come in and suddenly the temple president says, Sadhya Prabhu, you have to make this tulsi garland. What will you do? She has given you a needle and a thread and you have to make tulsi garland. You will have to pierce each tulsi, right, to be part of the garland. But you are still making it that I'm actually getting this tulsi for the pleasure of the Lordship. That would change the whole attitude. I want this tulsi garland to be so nicely made that Lord Krishna, he looks beautiful and he's attracting more. He's all attractive. It is he who's attracting. But I should make my effort so that it shows through my service as well. So when your spiritual master said, if you chew, because when you say it's prasad, prasad should be honored the way it should be honored. But sometimes people feel, oh, this is tulsi, let me just gulp. wait a minute, when something is offered to Krishna, it becomes Krishnized. It's actually Krishna, right? So even an apple offered to Krishna has become spiritual in nature. Are you going to gulp the whole apple or are you going to bite on it? So sometimes our ignorance in the perspective and thinking things differently cause us to do differently. Yes, you may decide to just, gulp on it, but can you gulp the whole apple if it has been offered to you? Somebody can say, yes, I'm so dedicated not to cause pain to the apple, I will gulp the whole apple as it is. Well, will you derive any benefit from that prasad? It will be a torment to the body. That would be a disservice. That will not be a proper service. So we have to understand from the mood of seva that I'm getting this, and so am I, going through it. If a doctor has to take care of the patient, the doctor knows that he may have to cut open the body to cure the body. Similarly, it's a reverse process for us. Sometimes we have to accept things so that our body can absorb that mercy. And that will enable us for our ball, which may start small, to become bigger, 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 so that we can fully embrace the mercy that's coming our way. Hare Krishna. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yes, it does. It does. So much. We have one hand up, Mother Ananda Rupa. Almost every single time I see Ananda Rupa, she reminds me of one of my god sisters. She was also called Ananda Rupa. And I remember when we first came into this country, US, I was much younger then. And this Ananda Rupa was quite elderly. And we were dancing to Kirtan. And this Mataji was dancing. And in my own mundane mind, I said, how can this elderly woman dance much stronger than myself? So I was going to compete with her and I surrendered. she was so ecstatic. So, but Ananda Rupa Mataji, please you be unmute and go ahead to ask your question or share your reflection. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Sahadev Prabhu, for sharing this pastime. Again, this in itself can be a topic of class someday. So I really loved many insightful points in the class today. And I was thinking it is so important to improve our attitude, in service for pleasure of Guru and Krishna. And I think if you can address this question, it will be so enlightening to many. How to purify the tendency to decline to the services one does not like to do, because that prevents one not being in comfort zone. How depending on everyone has a different nature. Some like to comfortably serve from their laptops nowadays. Some like to go to temple and serve. Some like to get out in the community and serve there, get out on streets, go to different locations. So even after chanting 16 mala, though not attentively at times, let us say this is how the position or situation is for someone who can really benefit from this question. So even after chanting 16 mala, though not attentively, and reading Srimad Bhagavatam almost every day, or maybe around 5 days a week, let us say someone wants to take a break on weekend, and worshipping home deities and engage in few other small services. So this is the background. So what is the result of declining the request for more services?
Hare Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada actually packs the whole thing from Bhakti Rasamrita in his purport for verse 4.10, where he's talking about the science of devotional service. Adha Shraddha Tatha Sadhu Sangatha Bhajan Kriya Nartha Nivrati Syat. Right? And then Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, and Prema. We are on different junctions on our path. And depending on our level of surrender and being where we are situated, there may be some hurdles. So someone who is new, they may be very eager to carry out service. And if any service given to them, they are ready to carry out that service because that eagerness, that enthusiasm is bursting in their heart. And that is also because of Krishna's mercy and Guru and Gauranga's mercy, because they are feeling enthusiastic. In the beginning, everyone is reverential. After some time, what happens is, in sadhu sangha, sometimes start feeling, familiarity breeds contempt. They are thinking, what's so great in it? I'm one of the devotees, and all these devotees are just like me. That's where criticism enters heart. And one becomes like, why should I take this seva and why should I take that seva? So instead of anartha nivrati, it is anartha vriddhi. It is increasing anarthas in one's heart. And when one takes that particular path, it doesn't really help much because that causes one to become, to retract away. Atyahara prayasya pajalpo. Again, we have to see doing too many things, but Nemagraha, Janasangasha Lolemcha, Sadbhir Bhakti Vinashyati. So once devotional service is destroyed by these 6 elements, Atyahara means eating more than necessary or acquiring more than necessary. And sometimes this acquiring of anartha also comes in here. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur talks about that as well. So we should not be acquiring anarthas, we should be getting rid of anarthas. Prayasya, having heavy endeavor in material activities, not in devotional activities, but in material activities. Niyam agraha means rejecting rituals because we don't understand the spirit. Niyam agraha means being attached to the rituals without understanding the spirit behind those rituals. Janasangha, having association of general populace, materialists basically, engage in gossip. Sometimes I'm amazed. People are coming to the temple and then all they are engaging is not in, Bhagavad Katha, but in gossip. Such and such person did this yesterday, such and such person is doing that tomorrow. They're talking about things. While what should be the focus? The focus should be we are in Aarti, we should be paying attention to the Aarti and participating fully so that we get proper benefit and we can feel the bliss, not have our ball turned upside down. So I'm trying to answer, but it's not a small answer, but you're asking a question which is much wider. So we have to understand where we are in the planet. And unless we have come to the level of ruchi, that attraction hasn't developed yet, right? Nishta, after Nishta, which is firm faith. So we start with small faith in the beginning. This is a stronger faith, Nishta. Then comes, ruchi, asakti, and then bhav and prema. So that ruchi once comes to the level when we become attached to the devotional service. Then any kind of devotional service we can come. But till we reach that level of ruchi, we can retract back. Even our nishtha level, which is a stronger faith, can be challenged because of the various anarthas we are collecting. But we won't reach there even to the level of nishtha because our anartha nivrati hasn't happened. That's why bhajan kriya is what you are asking about. Engagement in devotional service is very important for our advancement because that's where anartha nivrati would happen. When we don't understand this science of devotional service, there is a tendency that we get stuck only in sadhu sangha and do not really come to the proper mood of bhajan kriya, which is the spiritual activities for the pleasure of Krishna. Sometimes people are there dancing because they are enjoying the dance, the kirtan. It's for Krishna's enjoyment. And we are dancing to make it more attractive for Krishna's enjoyment. So that should be the mood. And Sadhya Prabhu can show you, means he dances quite vibrantly in front of the Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva smiles, his smiles widens, I have seen it. Hare Krishna. Does that answer your question, Devi?
Yes, definitely it highlighted the point that, in order to have a good understanding that one is developing the taste for devotional service, one needs to rise above purification of the heart. One needs to really hold tight to devotional service for this purification to happen. To be, the fact that one wants to decline something which has come his or her way for pleasure of the Lord is a signal enough to understand that these excuses or impediments are blocking one's taste for developing devotional service. So basically, it seems like there is a deep reflection needed. No one can be coached from outside when within our hearts we need to think more deeply about it, what we are doing in our, as part of our sadhana. And so everyone wants to chant those perfect 16 mala Prabhupada requested, though that is a minimum requirement. And one needs to really understand that chanting, reading from scriptures, and engaging in menial services, they all go hand in hand. If we think we can just become a bhajananandi, sitting in a corner holding my beads, and I want to just worship my home deities and I will become great and Krishna will qualify me to enter kingdom of God and I don't care about other devotees, so that's not going to help. So I thought this is really important in all stages to have a good understanding about where we are going and what we need to do and how to wholeheartedly accept opportunities to serve, which is coming as a main message actually from your talk also today. So thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Anandarupa Mataji. Even though I'm saying thank you so much, but I do not very much like your question because it reminds me of a situation I went through, just as you're saying. I wouldn't want to go in details, but my Guru Maharaj gave me a service and I so stupidly declined the service. Yeah. I declined the service, but that same service has come back to bite me today. So, the question, the remark is so powerful, but I said I don't like it because it's reminding me of a very bitter experience. But it's also good that I don't repeat it. So thank you for sharing that.
Could I share something?
Yeah,
before
please.
another question? So His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, Radhanath Swami, he actually has a very nice response when we go into this repentance mode. Yes, repentance is important, but it should be more into action following quick repentance. He was talking about chanting the holy name, and he was chanting the holy name. He said, devotee is chanting, like, oh, but then he realized he was not fully attentive. And then he was like, oh, I did not chant attentively. I should be chanting attentively. I should do it properly. I should do this. I should do that. His Holiness says, stop doing that because now you lost the time to chant a good mantra. Rather, this is your opportunity. You realized it, act on it and chant good mantra. So yes, what has happened in the past? We don't care about what happened in the past. It was a lesson learned, yes. Now we should act on improving ourselves. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Chakra Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for your thoughts. Wonderful program. My obeisance to the assembled devotees. The first question, no, it's something you said about desiring to be a flower or a tulsi leaf in the garland of Krishna. Yeah, I was just reflecting that this our physical body, our material body, is the one that goes through pain. My little understanding is that our spiritual body doesn't go through pain. So, in that sense, can you elaborate a little bit? Like if someone is in the spiritual world and he wants to be used, he or she wants to be used for a gala, how is a needle going to go through the person? And the person might feel, some sort of a pain or something. Maybe I might not have understood it properly. So, can you elaborate a little?
Hare Krishna. So when you're thinking of material body and spiritual body, it is the consciousness. That's the difference. Srimad Bhagavatam very clearly states in the first canto itself that when sage Narad was maidservant's boy and he had seen the Lord appear momentarily on his heart, and Lord revealed to him that it was only to encourage him to further take to devotional service. He says that I engaged in devotional service while wandering around and my senses had spiritualized. That means he had become transcendental to the three modes of material nature. So when we become transcendental to the three modes of material nature, at that level, we only feel bliss and presence of Krishna and the mercy flowing our way. So even when somebody as a patient gets injection, it pains, but the patient accepts it because it's for benefit, to overcome sickness. Then one says, yes, please come, please give me injection now. We saw the COVID times, right? There were long queues. People were in long lines just to get the vaccination. Why do they get to get vaccination? Because they want to live longer and they don't want to be killed by this, COVID virus and so forth. So again, we have to understand it is the mood, it is one's consciousness that determines when one is suffering or one is in bliss. When somebody gets this vaccination, which was painful, an injection, they're in bliss. Yes, now I am safe from coronavirus. So it is the consciousness that makes it. So when we are rendering loving devotional service, which is a rasa, whichever form, a rasa causes us to overcome the pain and be more in bliss. There is a material level also. Srila Prabhupada in Nectar of Devotion talks here extensively that even this materialists who are taking this danger to go to work and do this strenuous activities, take on hard labor, they are in bliss thinking that they will get so much money and so forth. So there's some kind of rasa they're experiencing. And that rasa is, that mallow is causing them to not feel the pain, that hardship, or the risk that they are taking to be a big deal. So in the spiritual world, and in reality, everything is spiritual. It is our consciousness that makes us think that we are in the material world and we are having material experience. We are actually a spiritual being and we are always in the spiritual world, provided our consciousness is in that spiritual level. Then we'll only be having a spiritual experience. Why should we have material experience? Every act should be done for the pleasure of the Lordship. And first canto, this is revealed. Anartho Pashmam Sakshat Bhakti Yoga Madhukshaje Lokasya Ajananto Vidvans Chakre Satvat Samhitam. So because of ignorance, people do not know that by Bhakti Yoga they can be in fully spiritual realm. And that's why the great Vidwan, Krishna Devapana Vyastev, the sage, he wrote Srimad Bhagavatam so that we can get this enlightenment, that we can be with Krishna every moment. Even when Krishna left, the queens of Dwarka, they were feeling depressed, but they saw Jamuna floating jubilantly. They asked question, Kalindi, Krishna left, you should be morose. Why are you in such a jubilant mood? Yamuna said, I met the sage and he revealed to me that actually Krishna is everywhere. So I'm always with Krishna. I'm actually serving Krishna through my services. So she is jubilant. We think of Maya, sometimes we think Maya, material energy. Why? Because it is our consciousness that sees that energy as material energy, because we want to lord over that energy. While the material energy that we are seeing is represented by Goddess Durga, she is a Vaishnavi. And she actually has her realm. The Devi Kshetri is in the spiritual realm. It's not part of this material world. Why do we consider this material world? Is because this is like a jail for our improvement. But we can be improved in our spiritual consciousness while living in this jail, which is known as, the Durga, the fortress. Hare Krishna. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, somehow. Because I understand the explanation you gave about our consciousness being the measuring stick to determine whether we are spiritual or we are in the material world.
Let me make it even simpler for you. So everyone is working hard for the week so that they can enjoy on the weekend,
Mhm.
right? We were talking about that earlier in the beginning of this class. So when you come to the weekend comes, you forget about how hard you had to work during the week. And now you're in the enjoyment mood, right? So what you did during the week, was not, if you're not doing it for the pleasure of Krishna, it was our own pleasure. But came weekend and you came into that mode, which is again the material mode, and you're thinking that you are enjoying, but in reality, you were suffering then and you're suffering now. Unless you engage it in devotional service, it is just a suffering, but we in ignorance think that this is enjoyment. People are taking heavy intoxicants during this celebration time. Let's look at that word intoxication. We are taking toxic substance inside the body. We are actually harming the body. The toxicity is going in the body and our body is struggling and crying out, "What are you doing to me?" But we are feeling very jubilant. Well, that's ignorance. While a devotee may be working very hard for Krishna, but is actually feeling jubilant like Jananda Prabhu, he would be taking out trash in so much bliss that people would just see him and become devotee. We have many examples of devotees who became devotees just by seeing him. In San Francisco, he was the temple president and he would carry out trash. He'd pack those bags, and his jubilant form as he was serving, people would say, "What a wonderful devotee. I want to be a devotee like him." So much so that Srila Prabhupada, seeing his dedication, said his picture should always be in the front of the Rath Yatra. Because he was always in spiritual realm. Srila Prabhupada could see it. Our materialized sometimes fail to see it. They only see the suffering that a devotee is going through. And say His Holiness Bhakti Tirth Maharaj. He was suffering, means one of his leg was cut. He was going through the experience of this cancer. And his body was in his last moment. What did he say to Raghunath Maharaj? It can't get any better than this. Because he was in the spiritual bliss. It's only a matter of our consciousness of our surroundings that determines, are we in material world or are we in spiritual world? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Beautiful. Well, Prabhuji, I tell you, I have two questions and I'll combine them together if possible. We're talking about Brigu in this encounter.
Yeah.
And Brigu has a lineage which we call Brigu Vamsha.
Yes.
And I find this very interesting because in Africa, we also have Vamshas. Like we have certain people in certain family lines that have passed on for so long, yet their name is what is labeled on the family.
Yes.
So my question is, one, how come that Brigu is named after that lineage when Lord Brahma had so many children?
Yes.
And Brigu is one of Lord Brahma's children,
Yes.
and he's named after that family line. Even though, like you're saying, Shonaka Rishi is a descendant, Shonaka Rishi himself is a very amazing devotee. Why is that line not named after Shonaka Rishi? Why is the Pandavas named after Pandu? So how does one become the head of a Vamsa? That's first question. And then the second question, in line with all these thing I'm talking about, is in our material world, the main reason why a man and a woman marry is to have a child.
Yes.
If for some reason, for medical reasons or whatever, there cannot be a child, that is okay. But the major reason a man and a woman get together as married couples is to have a child.
Yes.
In the case of Lord Brahma, Brigu, as we're speaking about, was born out of Lord Brahma's, I'm not sure whether from his skin or something, I think from his skin. Vashishta was born out of his prana, Narada from his lap. So what is the use then that Lord Brahma will have a wife, Saraswati? So it seems to me that there is more than having a child. That is why a man and a woman come together as married couples. So if you may shed some light on these two questions, please.
So I will try to split your two questions separately so it's easy to answer. Let's just look at Lord Brahma. He has just received instructions from Lord Narayan that he should increase the progeny. So by the Lord's mercy, all these planets and other things are already, the initial set is already there. And now he has to carry out this management of this universe. So this is just like a house. You have a house made of brick and mortar and all that stuff, but unless somebody goes and live, it doesn't become a home. So that was Lord is asking Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma has realized his appearance, that he has appeared because of the lotus that came from the navel of Garbhodakshay Vishnu, Lord Narayan. And so, he's born from just one man. So he says, Lord has given me the potency that I can produce children. That's how he is doing it. Until the point comes that he sees Saraswati again. And when he says Saraswati, that's where things change. And he realized that actually even Lord Krishna has a counterpart of Radharani. So to be parents, you have to have both a responsible male and an affectionate mother. Only then, you can beget. Plus, he is understanding the purport of the Vedas as he's carrying out his activities, right? Sometimes when we do, even Lord Brahma, during the day, there are 1,000 Chaturyugas in one day of Lord Brahma. And as he is going through from one Chaturyuga to another, within that Chaturyuga, there are different yugas. He's seeing the degradation and then again a refresh and a degradation, again a refresh. It's like an iteration going on and he's improving himself, right? So in the beginning once, he is just using himself, but then he realizes that actually there is a concept of having a husband and a wife, and Swayambhuva Manu appears with his wife, and that's where he realizes, wait a minute, this is where husband and wife, they become, and he's understanding the purport of those Vedic instruction that he has received, that the purpose of marriage is to beget a child. And so everything has a purpose behind it. He becomes angry when the Chaturkumars refuse, and that was much earlier, to get children. They said, we just want to be like this, naked children, 5-year-old, and walk around like toddlers, and nobody minds us, and we are happy after hearing all the wonderful instructions from Hamsa Avatar. So that's Kumar Sampradaya. Their lineage is coming from Hamsa Avatar, and just like we have the end as Das, they have the end as Sharan. So Deen Bandhu Prabhu was sharing that at the Narad Kunda, it has been very nicely decorated and brought up by another personality, another devotee who is in the Kumar Sampradaya. His name is Deen Bandhu Sharan. And he was like, wow, this is so interesting. He has the same name as me, except for the last part, because he's identifying different lineage in Parampara. So there are 4 Paramparas, right? Rudra Sampradaya, the lineage coming from Lord Shiva. Shri Sampradaya coming from Goddess Lakshmi. Kumar Sampradaya coming from Kumars, the Chatur Kumaras, Sanak Sanatan, Sananda, and Sanat Kumar. And then Brahma Sampradaya. So even in Sampradayas, we see some lineage coming. Why is our Sampradaya not known as Ishwapuri Sampradaya? Why is it known as Brahma Gaudiya Sampradaya, just as Gaudiya Sampradaya? Because Lord appeared and he started a movement, the Sankirtan movement for this age, right? So to deliver us. So whenever a strong personality comes, and that personality really revolutionizes the whole movement, then we understand. Now, when we call ourselves as who are we followers of, sometimes, Srila Prabhupada very clearly writes in Nectar Devotion, we are Rupa Nugas. We are following, Rupa Goswami's instructions. So we are Rupa Nugas. And who's Rupa Nuga? He's a Rupa Manjari. So suddenly the whole perception changes. He's one of the Manjaris. He's from the spiritual world. And if we follow the Manjari, then we get to engage in the service in helping the Manjari, which is, sometimes opening a different gate. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, again, Vinod Manjari. So again, he is opening a complete prema gates. There was a big time after the 6 Goswamis and so forth. So sometimes Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur is referred to as the 7th Goswami, because he again opened that gate of prema, Goloka Prema Dhana, Harinam Sankirtana. And then he again revitalized the energy. Because over a period of time after the 6 Goswamis, people thought of this Gauriya Brahma Sampradaya to be just sentimentalists who are, engaging in all kind of, loving mood. And again, Madhurya Rasa is the spiritual Rasa. But people were misunderstanding, people in Gauriya Sampradaya before Bhaktivinoda Thakur is, awakened that consciousness, was a Shingar Rasa. Shingar Rasa is a materialistic way. Like a lady, she dresses herself nicely to attract another man for her pleasure, that this man will become her slave and will serve her. They were thinking from that materialist perspective of the whole movement. So sometimes there is a very important personality who appears, and that becomes a point. Now, why does Bhrigu Muni is identified here? Well, Bhrigu Muni is the main sage who carries out all the sacrifices for the demigods. A very important position. So he's like a prime role of a Brahmana, just like in Prajapati's Daksha is referred to as a leader of all the Prajapatis. Bhrigu Muni is referred to similarly. While Brihaspati is onto a different domain. So again, they are specialized. Even though Brahmanas, they have their specialized domains that they are specializing in. Brihaspati is more into imparting that Brahman knowledge and being the spiritual master of the demigods. So it's just not teaching them how to follow the rules and regulations, but also how to be a great administrator and carry out their activities as demigods and so forth. So again, I can keep going. So sometimes we see a strong personality, a very personality who is laying down a very new foundation and changing our whole perception and making the path easy for us. What can be easier than this? All you have to do is chant the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And singing and dancing and enjoying prasadam, you can go back home, back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada said, our movement is all about recreation. That's all we do. And that's because of the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's why we are part of Gaudiya Sampradaya. Similarly, Bhrigu Sampradaya. Sometimes lineage helps people understand what were the good things or what was the foundations this lineage is coming from. Shaunaka Rishi is, even though he is a Brahmana, he is coming as one of the inquisitive. Chaturvida bhajante va jana sukritin arjuna artho jigyasu arthati gyanischa bhatashiva. Lord Krishna says there are 4 kind of pious men that approach me. So artho, one who is in distress; jigyasu, one who is inquisitive. This is Shaunaka Rishi and the sages at Naimisharanya. Arthati, one who is seeking some fortune or some benefit. And Jnani, one who is knowledge. Now Brihaspati, he is falling in this Jnani stage. While Bhrigu Muni, he is carrying out sacrifices because then he will get a lot of dakshina from the sages. So he comes in the level of Arthati. He's looking at that wealth. And that's why we see Shukracharya stopping Bali Maharaj, because he's son of Bhrigu Muni. It's like, if he loses the universes, I will not get all the rewards I'm supposed to be getting, all the dakshina that I'm supposed to be getting. So it also helps us understand the mindset in that lineage, what was the origin. And of course, we should not hold on to that, because people change. Like Shaunaka Rishi was completely transformed. He was not an Arthati, he was an inquisitive, Jigyasu. So that transformation, we should be open, yet at the same time, a descendant is always eager to know about his predecessors, ancestors, what activities they do. And that's why when Sutta Goswami is calling out to Shaunaka Rishi as a descendant of Bhrigu Muni, he knows that Shaunaka Rishi will have full 100% attention. And that's also an activity that, a preacher or a speaker has to perform to keep the audience engaged. Hare Krishna. Hopefully this answers.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Second part, I just want to cover the husband and wife. When they don't have children because of medical reasons, because Lord wants their service in a different form. They can adopt. Pandu could not have children with any of his wives. What did they do? They adopted sons from, right? Dharmraj himself, as Yudhishthira Maharaj, Indra, from him they got Arjun, from Vayu they got Bhima, and from Ashwini Kumars they got Nakul and Sahadev. So adoption is another path that is given as part of the examples from Bhagavatam as well. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. If no one has anything else to ask or to share, I believe we may bring this to a close. And Shri JIVA TATTVA Prabhu, in fact, I can't, and I believe all of us here can't thank you enough for this wonderful class from the beginning to the middle to the end. It's all been so wonderful. And like I was saying initially, our prayer is that we do not just come here to listen and that will be the end of it. We pray that we can actually put these teachings into practice, so we benefit from the teachings. So, dear devotees, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute yourselves, and we all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation to our revered speaker for today, His Grace JIVA TATTVA Prabhu, for sharing his love and wisdom with us all. Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
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 Hare Rama.
Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare
Hare.
Vancha
Vancha
Kalpa. Kripa Sindhu Vacha.
Itanam Pavayo Vaishnava Namaha.
Nantakoti Vaishnava Ki.
Jai.
All glory to His grace. JIVA TATTVA Prabhu Ki.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.